This is NBA seeing the future, so we're taking a gander at some interesting futures bets, again, for New York-based teams.
All right, let's start with the Nets, who currently sit at the top of the odds board as the favorites to win the NBA title at plus 245. So from what you've seen so far, are they the team to beat, Garion?
I just have a hard time betting them at this number. You kind of look at some of the advanced statistics in the NBA right now. They are barely inside the top 10 in net rating. They're 11th in offensive rating. They're 12th in defensive rating. So I guess optimistically you say they haven't really had their full complement of players all season and they're still in the top half of the league in most major categories. But pessimistically, what is this team elite at? Aside it already having to play Kevin Durant 40 minutes a night to be the second best team in the Eastern Conference. I understand that in the playoffs, things change, stars become even more important, and, there's the possibility that, who knows what's going to be the case with Kyrie Irving 3 months from now. That is a variable that has to be taken into account, but I just look at, the Bucks at plus 750, the reigning NBA champions. I look at some pretty good value in terms of, if the reports that we're hearing about Kawhi's knee are accurate. Clippers at 22-1 seems kind of interesting. 76ers at 22-1, depending on how they resolve the Ben Simmons situation. I just think the Nets, could they win the NBA championship? Of course. But if you're having to pay top dollar to get that bet in, it's just not something I want to back.
Yeah, Nick, do you have a hard time betting them at this number?
Yeah, and Gary, one thing that he didn't touch on was the Warriors, too, at plus 47 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. And you go and add a guy like Klay Thompson at this point in the season. I understand we don't know what we're going to see from him, if he's going to be the full Klay Thompson that he's been in the past, of course, coming off that injury and everything. But this is a guy who, even if he's just, you're just getting the offensive side of him, that's a huge addition to one of the best teams, arguably the best team in the league, going so far this season. For the Nets, if you're looking for a futures bet, I think the best one to consider is probably the Eastern Conference for them to win the Eastern Conference. I know the Bucks are still appealing there at plus 300, and they could go and they have a taste of what it takes to win, so they could absolutely still go and win the conference and maybe get back to the finals for back-to-back seasons. But I think taking the Nets to go and at least take care of business in the East is a little bit more reasonable because there's a lot more variables that Garion was highlighting quite a bit of when you look at winning the actual NBA Finals.
All right, well, the Knicks aren't on anybody's list of NBA title favorites, at least as of right now, but they're in the playoff race and currently plus 500 to make the postseason. So, Nick, you taking that bet?
Honestly, I like this one more than the Nets to win it all at this stage. Of course, the value is a little bit more promising. But when I look at this one, I think when you think of the teams that are from the sixth down in the playoff standings, the only team that I look at right now in the East that I would say, yes, they're going to make it, is the Raptors definitively, just because they've gone through a lot this season and they're still fighting and they're still plugging away. But you look at what's going on with Cleveland, and they've lost a lot at guard, so that's going to be a tough obstacle for them moving forward. I think the Hornets are on the stronger end of those teams, of course, higher in the rankings. But they have a lot of offensive firepower. The Celtics could sneak their way in, but still they have underperformed a lot of the season. And then the Wizards too that's a team that I just generally don't take seriously. And then you have the play-in tournament factor too. And for the Knicks, I like them as the underdog going into all that too. I know they're 11th coming into play on Wednesday. If they get to 9 or 10 for the play-in tournament, I like that a lot more. I know they got to win a few more games, but the Knicks, they know how to be underdogs under Thibodeau and everything. So yeah, I would say that I like this one for them to repeat getting back to the playoffs.
And Gary, and their odds for success have just shifted dramatically for the worse because of this underachievement this season.
Yeah, look, they've been disappointing, and there's not a lot about how they've been playing the last 6 weeks that would suggest that they are a high-caliber playoff team. But as Nick was outlining, the back end of the Eastern Conference it's deep, but it's not exactly amazing. Again, Charlotte, meh. Cleveland, just dealing with so many injuries. Toronto can't shoot threes. Boston's underachieved the entire season. Washington just probably won't be there when it's all said and done. So I don't think the Knicks are going to get a top 6 spot and make you not have to sweat this bet in the play-in tournament, but I think they'll be in the play-in tournament. And 5-1 odds at that point will seem pretty good. Now, the Knicks do have the second hardest strength of schedule in terms of their remaining schedule at 534. So that is a bit of a hurdle. However, something that I like to look at with these future bets, specifically for win total, is what are these teams going to do at the trade deadline? And all the reports we're hearing for the Knicks right now is they are looking to be aggressive. They want back into the playoffs. They've been connected to Jeremy Grant. They've been connected to Miles Turner. I mean, if they make one of those deals, I don't know how great that is for the future of their franchise necessarily 2-3 years down the road. But I think this is a team that desperately wants to be aggressive and make this year's playoffs. So that's all we care about with this bet. I think if they make one of those moves, this number changes immediately. So I don't mind getting it right now.